and mighty nervous system, or the brain as most of us call it. What makes this organ unique is that within it lies the ability for humans to know oneself. This feature distinguishes and sets the human species apart from the rest of creation. This ability is known as consciousness or intelligence. To begin, let's look at the primary function of the nervous system. The basic purpose is to coordinate all of the activities of the body. It enables the body to respond and adapt to changes that occur both inside and outside the body. Now, the nervous system is actually split into two parts: the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. We'll explore the peripheral later, but first, let's look at the central nervous system. The central nervous system is made up of two major structures: the brain and the spinal cord. As most people know, the brain is found within the cranium or skull, and there are 6 main sections among other structures within it. These 6 sections are the cerebrum, cerebellum, diencephalon, the midbrain, pons, and the medulla oblongata. The first section is the cerebrum. This is the largest section. It's divided into 2 major hemispheres, which are the right and left hemisphere. And the cerebrum is further divided into 4 lobes. These 4 lobes are the frontal, the parietal, the temporal, and the occipital. The frontal lobe is primarily responsible for reasoning and thought. The parietal is primarily responsible for integrating sensory information. The temporal is primarily responsible for processing auditory information from the ears. And the occipital is primarily responsible for processing visual information from the eyes. The second section of the brain is the cerebellum. This is the section located in the back of the head, below the cerebrum, and above the first cervical of the neck. It is responsible for muscle coordination, balance, posture, and muscle tone. The diencephalon section is found between the cerebrum and the midbrain. It contains 2 structures: the thalamus and the hypothalamus. The thalamus behaves much like a relay station and directs sensory impulses to the cerebrum. And the hypothalamus controls and regulates autonomic nervous system functions such as temperature, appetite, water balance, sleep, and blood vessel constriction and dilation. The hypothalamus also plays a role in the emotions such as anger, fear, pleasure, pain, and affection. The midbrain section is located below the cerebrum at the top of the brainstem. It is responsible for certain eye and auditory reflexes. The pons is located below the midbrain and in the brainstem. It is responsible for certain reflex actions such as chewing, tasting, and saliva production. And the last section is the medulla oblongata. It's the lowest part of the brainstem, and it connects with the spinal cord and is responsible for regulating heart and blood vessel function, digestion, respiration, swallowing, coughing, sneezing, and blood pressure. It's also known as the center for respiration. Now that we've covered the brain, let's take a look at the other half of the central nervous system, the spinal cord. The spinal cord is the link between the brain and the nerves and the rest of the body. The spinal cord is divided into 4 different regions: the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, and the afferent and efferent spinal nerves, which merge to form the peripheral nerves. The afferent spinal nerves are responsible for carrying information from the body to the brain. And the efferent spinal nerves are responsible for carrying information from the brain to the body. Now, within this elaborate system of nerves, neurons, and dendrites, there is a system that regulates the functions of the central nervous system, which lie outside its major components such as the brain and the spinal cord. This system is known as the peripheral nervous system and is subdivided into two smaller systems, the somatic system and the autonomic nervous system. The somatic nervous system is responsible for carrying motor and sensory information both to and from the central nervous system. This system is made up of nerves that connect to the skin, sensory organs, and all skeletal muscles. The somatic system is also responsible for nearly all voluntary muscle movements, as well as for processing sensory information that arrives via external stimuli including hearing, touch, and sight. The structures that allow this communication to happen between the nerves throughout the body and the central nervous system are known as the afferent sensory neurons and the efferent motor neurons. Now, afferent simply means conducting inward, and efferent means conducting outward. So just like in the spinal nerves, the afferent neurons take information from the nerves to the central nervous system, and the efferent neurons take information from the central nervous system to the muscle fibers throughout the body. The autonomic nervous system is further divided into the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is vital to our survival. Have you ever heard of the fight or flight response to danger? The sympathetic nervous system revs up the body when confronted with imminent danger to either defend yourself or to escape the threat. The parasympathetic nervous system is the counterbalance to the sympathetic response to danger, whether real or imagined. Once the threat is gone, the parasympathetic brings all the systems of the body back to normal. Now at this point, you should have a basic understanding of the nervous system, but let's do a quick recap. The basic purpose of the nervous system is to coordinate all the activities of the body. It enables the body to respond and adapt to changes that occur both inside and outside the body. The two major parts to the nervous system are the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is also divided into two major structures, the brain and the spinal cord. The brain is found within the skull or cranium, and it is made up of 6 main sections. These 6 sections are the cerebrum, cerebellum, diencephalon, the midbrain, pons, and the medulla oblongata. The other half of the central nervous system is the spinal cord, and the spinal cord is the link between the brain and the nerves and the rest of your body. The spinal cord is divided into 4 different regions: the cervical, thoracic, lumbar, and afferent and efferent spinal nerves, which merge to form the peripheral nerves. Now that we know the brain and spinal cord primarily make up the central nervous system, let's look at the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system is essentially the nervous system outside of the brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system is then subdivided into 2 smaller systems called the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. So, as you can see, the nervous system is quite complex, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Thanks for watching. Look for more videos on the nervous system at cteskills.com.
Visual guide to your nervous system. 1. Your command central. Made up of billions of nerve cells called neurons, your nervous system is what lets you do everything from breathe to walk to dream. It has 2 main parts, the central nervous system, which includes the brain and spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system, all the other nerves in your body. 2. Who's running the show? Your nervous system works both on autopilot and with you in control. A voluntary action is something that takes conscious thought, like when you walk or clap your hands. That uses the somatic nerves. Involuntary actions are things like your heartbeat that happen whether or not you're thinking or doing anything about it. That's the autonomic system. 3. Sympathetic nervous system. This part of your autonomic system is in charge of your body's fight or flight response. When you come across a threat, your sympathetic nervous system kicks into gear, quickly changing body processes like your breathing and heart rate so that you have extra energy and are ready to face the danger or run away. 4. Parasympathetic nervous system. The other part of your autonomic system has the opposite effect. It's the brake pedal to the sympathetic nervous system's gas pedal. It takes over with the rest and digest response to bring you back to normal after the danger has passed. 5. Don't drain your brain. Stress that doesn't let up leaves your sympathetic nervous system on alert. And over time, that can lead to you losing your mental sharpness. You may take longer to react to things and make more errors. High levels of stress also affect your physical health, including weakening your immune system and raising your chance of heart disease. 6. Neurons. They're how your brain and body talk to each other. These nerve cells use special parts to communicate. The axon releases a chemical called a neurotransmitter that's picked up by the dendrite of another neuron, where it's turned into an electrical signal. Sensory neurons respond to things like sound, smell, and touch and deliver the info to your brain. Motor neurons bring messages from your brain to your muscles. 7. Glial cells. These cells get their name from the Greek word for glue. They surround, support, and cushion the neurons in your brain and spinal cord. But that's not all. Researchers are beginning to understand the role glial cells play in how the brain works, neurological diseases, and more. For instance, some are for support and nutrition and help maintain an appropriate chemical environment for neuron signaling. Others clear debris and dead neurons and help repair injuries involving the nervous system. 8. Brain. This incredibly complex and vital organ is made up of 100 billion or so neurons. It controls your movement, speech, heartbeat, and breathing. And it's the root of all your thoughts and feelings. Around the size of 2 clenched fists and weighing in at about 3 pounds, it's protected by your skull and the fluid it floats in. 9. Cerebrum. The largest part of the brain is divided into 2 halves called hemispheres. The left one, which controls the right side of your body, handles speech for most people. It also controls logic, math calculations, and pulling facts from your memory. The right hemisphere, which controls your left side, is also in charge of music, recognizing faces, and understanding your body's position relative to what's around you, what's known as spatial awareness. 10. Cortex. The outermost layer of the cerebrum has many wrinkles and folds. This is where you'll find your brain's gray matter, which processes information. 11. Basal ganglia. You'll find this network of circuits deep inside the hemispheres of your brain. The basal ganglia coordinate movement, behavior, and emotions. They make things that happen in sequence possible, like walking and dancing, learning patterns, forming habits, and stopping activities then starting new ones. Damaged basal ganglia cause Parkinson's and Huntington's diseases. 12. Cerebellum. Your cerebellum oversees complicated movements, posture, and balance. It coordinates different muscle groups and fine-tunes movements with practice, like hitting a golf ball or hockey puck. Because of it, walking can be a smooth, continuous motion. 13. Amygdala. This almond-shaped area is responsible for your emotions and some behavior. It's believed your amygdala helps you do everything from form memories to pick up on social cues. It sounds the alarm that triggers your body's fight or flight response to danger. 14. Hippocampus. You have one on each side near the center of your brain. They help you learn and remember important who, what, and where details like your boss's name and the location of your house and turn short-term memories into long-term ones. It's one of the first areas damaged by Alzheimer's disease. 15. Thalamus. The top part of your brain stem is kind of like a post office for your senses. It gets signals related to sight, smell, hearing, taste, and touch and passes the information to other parts of your brain. 16. Pons. This key relay station is the middle part of your brain stem and a bridge between the cerebrum and the cerebellum. It's the origin of nerves that control facial expressions, eye movement, and bladder control. And it's probably where your dreams happen. 17. Medulla oblongata. Your medulla handles the autonomic things you don't think about, like your breathing, blood pressure, and heart rate. It also plays a major role in chewing and swallowing as well as breathing. It's found at the bottom of the brain stem, where it helps transfer signals between the brain and spinal cord. 2. 18. Spinal cord. It's probably smaller than you think, about 17 inches long, the diagonal of a large laptop screen, and less than 1/2 inch wide, thinner than an adult's finger. It runs from the base of your brain down your back, surrounded by bones called vertebrae. Bundles of nerve fibers, protected by tissue and fluid, carry information back and forth from your brain to your body. 19. Peripheral nerves. If the central nervous system is the main office, the peripheral nervous system is the workers out in the field. There are 12 cranial nerves that connect to the brain, including ones that let you smell, see, smile, and swallow. Another 31 pairs of nerve roots, one sensory, one motor, branch out from your spinal cord between the vertebrae. The sciatic nerve is the largest single nerve. It goes from your pelvis down the back of your thigh. 20. Enteric nervous system. When someone talks about your second brain, this is what they're referring to. It's a separate network of more than 100 million nerve cells that line your gastrointestinal tract and control the process of digestion, like moving stuff into your stomach, and out at the end, breaking down food, and absorbing nutrients. 21. Diseases and conditions. Infections, injuries, poisons, even high blood sugar can harm parts of your nervous system. Stroke, meningitis, polio, migraine, carpal tunnel syndrome, epilepsy, MS, and shingles are all nervous system disorders. Doctors who treat them are called neurologists. 22. Healthy habits. Taking care of yourself in general will also help your nervous system. Get plenty of sleep. Don't smoke. Find ways to relax. Exercise has an anti-aging effect on the brain and can protect against memory loss. Eat well, with lots of veggies, fruits, and omega-3s, cut back on carbs, and avoid sugary foods and saturated and trans fats. Spend time with friends and learn new skills to help your brain work better.